A lot of these businesses who want to hire content creators, marketing managers, social media managers, they want to hire somebody who is proficient in videography and photography, who is knowledgeable on editing, who knows graphic design, knows branding. Like they want to hire somebody who has expertise in all these levels, yet they want to pay them close to nothing. So I just finished watching one of Gary Vee's videos from 9 years ago where he talks about documenting over creating.
Document versus create. People aren't starting, they're just not making. They're thinking, they're pondering, they're strategizing, they're debating.
And one of the aspects that hit home in the beginning of the video is where he talks about being stuck in the strategy or caring too much about the creative process. And I feel like that's where I've been in the last year of our business. I feel like since I've been able to do this for a living the last 2 years, I've really been able to focus more on creating for bigger clients and making content for larger clients. And because I've been doing that so much, it's made me look at my own work, and I've been wanting to put in more care and more discipline and more focus on the creativity of my work. But at the same time, I don't have the time to do that. And so for the last year, I've kind of felt stuck between the, hey, I just want to post and put my work out there. But at the same time, I want it to be the best representation of the work that I can do and the stuff I can create. And what that ended up doing was putting me in a position where I just wasn't posting as much, or I was posting less and less and less because I wanted the work that was being posted was to be the best thing you could ever see. You know what I mean? And because I was also creating stuff for clients that was making me money, and since that was my job, I wasn't caring as much on the things that I was posting. I was trying to do the best that I could with the shortest amount of time. And I ended up realizing like I can't do both. And as I sat down this morning and began to like journal and write and just evaluate my life and my business, this concept came to mind because about 5 or 6 years ago, when I was working with that glass company, this was something that we implemented for them because we're such a small business and we wanted to get known quickly. The only way that we can do that was by pumping out a crap load of content on Instagram, Instagram stories, TikTok, and YouTube. And so, because I was doing that for this business, so many other businesses thought that we were much, much larger than we were. And what that ended up doing was making them want to work with us because the way that we looked online was far bigger than we were in person. And then that's how we ended up partnering with those two other glass businesses in Colorado and Arizona because they wanted us to do what we did for us for them. And so, looking at that, it made me realize, hey, you're in a point of your life where you may not be able to create for yourself the way that you want to, but you are able to document a lot of your creating. And that may be more worthy because you're showing the process and what you're doing rather than standing from the hilltop and then speaking down, right? There's something that Gary Vee talks about. Showing the process is better than giving advice about the process.
I think it's much smarter for you to talk to the world about your process of going through this than the advice that you should think you should be giving them.
So that's really what I want to start doing with this YouTube channel and my social media is showing you guys not just where I'm at as a videographer and how I got here and the skills that I have with drones and cameras and all that kind of stuff, but also how I use that to make a living, how I use that to spend time with my family, with my friends, how I use my skills in such a way that it's giving me the freedom to live the life that I've always wanted to live. And I think when people want to speak to you in the, hey, this is the steps that I did to get there, it's kind of difficult because, especially when you learn things, it's hard to look back on that and take out the lessons that you learned when you were there because sometimes you end up practicing it so much that you can't really pinpoint what the lesson was. And so, from watching a lot of the things that I had documented before and just moving to Austin and just kind of living my life in Austin, I was able to kind of just see how fun that was. And I miss that part of creating, which was the carelessness of it. Like, especially in the way that we are in social media, like we think that one post is going to change everything or that one reel, one, YouTube video is going to change the entirety of our course. And sometimes that happens, but the other thing is real, is which is you have to show up every single day and do this. It's like a job. Like if you miss a day or two at work when you should have been working, then you're going to get fired because you're not showing up. But if you show up every day to your job and you do what you're told and more, that puts you in a position of getting a raise. Even Gary Vee, again, he talks about, people look at Kobe now.
A lot of people look at finished products. They look at LeBron today. They look at Kobe today. They look at Beyonce today. The difference between understanding who you are versus who you wish you were.
And it's funny because I hear podcasters talk about this often, like, man, I wish I would have captured when we first started this or when we first started that. I wish I would have captured the process as we're growing. And again, I have the ability to do that because I am a videographer, I am a photographer, I am an editor. I'm able to do all these things for other clients, so why not do it for myself? And so that's one part of this that I'm starting to realize is you already know how to create. What you're struggling in is the documenting. And so I just need to worry about just document, just say, right? So that's why I'm like, hey, I literally just finished watching this video again and wrote down some points so I didn't forget. But I wanted to create, like, I want this year to be a year of action, of doing, of getting things done, of performing, because a lot of last year was me just overthinking things, overthinking a lot of situations. But then when the situation came and happened, I killed it. I did great. And those are victories that I walked away from without really having anything to show other than a paycheck, right? But I feel like if I was to document it, I can go back and relearn those lessons. I can go back and teach those lessons to my son. I can go back and teach those lessons to y'all if you guys watch these videos. And so what I'm learning right now is sometimes you need to go back to old lessons to glean some new knowledge. And so going to Gary Vee, he was pretty much the guy who started this for me when it came to the social media side of things, because I did this with that glass company. I did this with a lot of coffee companies that I was working with. And the more that I was showing people, hey, look at how social media is used to grow accounts and to make money, I saw a lot of these businesses and brands making money themselves. And I'm like, well, why am I doing that for you guys? Like, that's also been the frustrating part is before we didn't even really want to start this business or even continue with this business because I was working with other companies and making okay money just doing videography and content. But the thing was also like a lot of these businesses who want to hire content creators, marketing managers, social media managers, they want to hire somebody who is proficient in videography and photography, who is knowledgeable on editing, who knows graphic design, knows branding. Like they want to hire somebody who has expertise in all these levels, yet they want to pay them close to nothing. And so with some of these jobs, I was asking for more money because it's like, yo, I'm out there filming for who knows how many hours a day. I'm also spending all this time editing for who knows how many hours a day. You're also using my camera gear. I got my drone license. Like I'm doing all these things. I know how to work the 360 camera, which gets you real estate shots and Matterport, like all these things that people who are in that one niche charge hundreds and thousands of dollars for. You guys are don't want to pay me what I'm worth. And so the more that I was taking these jobs, like I said, as social media manager, content creators, marketing manager, although I had the skills, they did not want to pay me for the things that I was doing. And so what I ended up realizing was like, either I'm going to have to settle for the amount of money that I'm willing to make with this company and maybe, do some side gigs. And that's how I was making extra money, right? I was doing extra side gigs with other companies, or I can go all in on my skill level and what I can produce for a small amount of people, but charge them more. And so the first couple of years were difficult because it's like, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know a lot of these things that you end up needing to learn, but we've learned them as the years have gone by. And again, this is stuff that I wish I would have documented because it's things that I think a lot of you guys would benefit from, like whether it's from how do you get drone insurance and all this kind of stuff to, again, like how do you set aside time for work-life balance, or what I like to call work-life focus. And so documenting a lot of that is stuff that I wish I had done and just never had the time to do, Or I had the time to do it, but then I thought to myself, I got to edit this, and then didn't want to do it. And so one of the things I ended up realizing was, if I'm going to do this, I need to have a standard of what I want, right? So I wrote down on my journal, what is most important to you in life? And so this is something you guys could do as well, is like step back and say, what does success look like to me? Like if I look back next year on where I'm at now, what does success look like? How do I know I moved the needle? So for me is I want to improve in these 5 areas of my life. I want to improve in my family. That means spending more time with my wife and with the boys and seeing other family and friends. I want to get out more and invest in other people's lives in just the families and friendships that we do have. The second thing is my faith. I want to grow closer to God and doing more of his purposes. Like, this last year I was able to work with a lot of nonprofits who are doing missionary work and stuff like that. And it was great because it made me realize that my skill can be used to benefit others in a very positive way, more than getting businesses for restaurants and resorts and all that kind of stuff, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But I could also use my skill to benefit people who may never know my name and may never know my face, but knowing that I've had a positive impact in the world means a lot to me. And so growing closer to God, I feel like is something that I'm okay at, but I could definitely do better. So I put that on there as well. My fitness, of course, like this last year, from overcoming the car accident to so many other things, like I feel like I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been. And even though I may not want to get better, I do want to maintain where I've been, and yeah, maybe slim down and even practice going for another marathon or triathlon or something. But I think my fitness is something that has allowed me to be successful because it shows that I can devote time to something and be successful in that devotion when I'm focused. And so fitness is one of those things that is always going to be on there. The other thing is finances. I feel like getting out of debt, having an actual like savings for a lot of the unknown things, especially coming from the car accident, made me realize like, hey, maybe we should have a savings account. And doing the work that I enjoy. I feel like so often as a videographer, you take the work that pays the bills, but it's different when you take the work that pays the bills, but then you actually end up smiling and building a really good relationship with the client. Like to me, that is mattering more and more and more as I become a videographer and again going into this video agency. And then the fifth thing was fun. Like I want to have time for fun, and it was great because this last week, it was Christmas and New Year's and all that kind of stuff, and we were able to take a week off of work and spend time with family and be in Brownsville and eat a lot of elote and stuff like that. And so it was fun because I remember when I was working at Starbucks and just kind of living the single life, and all I did was work. Like I worked 20 hours a day or something like that, and it was really just coming out of a point of being not wanting to be alone and not wanting to be depressed and all that kind of stuff. And so now I feel like I enjoy having time to just not have anything on the schedule, to have days on the calendar that are unmarked, um, time for spontaneity, time for vacations, or even time for passion projects like doing little movies with AI or just whatever it is. Like having time to learn a new skill would be great. So I think having extra time for fun is something else that I really don't devote much time to. So it'd be great to do that. So my 5 were faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. I try to keep it all F's. And then I wrote down, what does that look like? So then I just wrote ways that I could visualize these things, like outside at the park playing with the family would be a good way, or spending more time reading the Bible, or having making over 20 or $30,000 a month. Like these are tangible ways to say, okay, not only what does success look like for you, but in what tangible ways would you experience that? And so I wrote that down as well. And then the other thing I wrote down was, what do I need to make this possible? Like, it isn't just what are the goals I need to take on to manage these things, but what are some things I need to stop doing or need to do less of in order to achieve these things? And one of the things I wrote was just stop procrastinating. And this is where the overthinking comes into play. One of the things Gary talks about when it comes to creating content and documenting and not creating is, don't try to get fancy with it.
Don't go fancy. Document versus create. But here's where people that pump out content make a mistake. They care about the camera and the lighting and all that other horse crap. It means nothing.
So one of the other things I wrote is do instead of thinking through it, or just take action, right? Because sometimes I get stuck in the how am I going to do this rather than just doing it. And then once I bump into those things, hey, figure it out. But I just need to start doing. Another big thing is setting deadlines. I know I do this when I do it for clients, or I do this when I'm working out, or I do this for other things in my life. Like I set timelines and deadlines. But what does that look like when I apply it to every area of life and say, okay, you need to get this done by this time, this done by this time, this done by this time, rather than being really free with it and just saying, oh, I'll get it done when I get it done, but being more intentional when I'm going to get things done. And one of the other things is building better connections. I feel like I'm great at making friends everywhere I go, but establishing and keeping those connections going is something that I'm really bad at. And so when it comes to a lot of the events I go to and the great people I meet, is keeping these conversations going, because that could lead to potential work, whether it's with an actual client or getting hired on by other videographers and photographers to do other jobs with them, which again opens you up to more different jobs. Which brings me to my last point, which is this is what we mean by create without care. Like, yes, it's good that you want it to be good, and it's good that you want it to be the best work that you can produce, but at the same time, don't care about the outcome of what you're going to get. Like, oh, look at all the comments, look at all this, and look at all that. That's not what matters. What matters is, did you create? Did you get the task done? And if you did, then you can pat yourself on the back and go to sleep and then do it again tomorrow. And so, even though I got things to get done and I have a life and I have a lot of things that I need to do, this is also a part of my life that I want to start focusing more on, because as I look back on the memories that I've had in the past, I regret not posting more, and I regret not sharing some of the highlights and the lows in my life more with you guys, because it is also something that I look back on and I can show my kids and my wife about, and just be like, look, remember this, remember this, remember this. And so I want to begin to do better at that. And so hopefully this is something that you guys can learn from as well. If you guys have never heard about this document over create process, I highly recommend look up Gary Vee, go look at his stuff where he talks about this, because it's still beneficial. Just even though it's 9, 10, whatever many years old, it's still beneficial, because maybe back then in your point of life, you couldn't apply that, but maybe now you can. And that's what I'm learning for myself is back then that was something that was easily applied in another business because I was doing one part of it. But what does it look like when I'm doing it now for myself? And so if you guys don't know how to do that, that's what I'm doing. So go ahead and continue to watch this process and see what you think about it. See if there's something you want to do. But time to edit and get all this done. So I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.